Ghastly greetings and spooky salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange, and the host who might be a ghost. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the strange and unusual literature that I have found in my travels across witch-infested 16th century England. Today, it is Poetry Thursday, and it's also coincidentally the first day of Ocpoeber. 31 days where I get to talk about all the spooky and unusual and terrifying and ghastly and superstitious literature that I have found out there. Some are sandwiched in between. We have the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, a book that I will be reading as a challenge by Lucas from the Bits of Lit. So plenty of fun and exciting things planned, including what I have planned for most Poetry Thursdays. I want to talk about some of the more unusual poetry. I've been talking about unusual poetry already, but I wanted to talk about, spooky, creepy, Halloween-themed poetry. And luckily, there's no shortage of that. Poets love talking about, things and stuff. And there's a lot of spooky and unusual and creepy things and stuff out in the world. So no shortage of things for them to wax the poetic about, so to speak. So today, I wanted to talk about a poem about witches and ghouls and the things that go bump in the night. I am talking about The Hag by Robert Herrick. For those that don't know, Robert Herrick was a 16th, 17th century poet. He commonly wrote about, a variety of things, ranging from the supernatural to the normal, to writing a lot about women, some of whom are believed to be fictional. So he was just writing about maybe the ideal woman, or, any woman that would give him the time of the day. Because as you know, women generally just don't like poets because, poets are weird freaks, and why would you want to talk to them? Today I wanted to highlight one of Robert Herrick's more unusual poems that gets at the true spirit of Halloween, at least in my opinion. Like, when I first read it, I'm like, wow, this is like, this is the exact thing. And like, I know Halloween existed back then, but it wasn't in its form that it was now. And a lot of the times people were afraid of witches and the supernatural and devils. So like, if people were talking about witches, they were talking very seriously rather than playful, like as we view them now. Without further ado, I thought I would read The Hag by Robert Herrick, do a little summary, some analysis, and we will move on from there. The Hag. The hag is astride this night for to ride, the devil and she together, through thick and through thin, now out and then in, though ne'er so foul be the weather. A thorn or a burr she takes for a spur, with a lash of a bramble she rides now, through brakes and through briars, o'er ditches and mires, she follows the spirit that guides now. No beast for his food dares now range the wood, but hushed in his lair he lies lurking, while mischiefs by these, on land and on seas, at noon of night are working. The storm will arise and trouble the skies, the night and more for the wonder. The ghost from the tomb, affrighted, shall come, called out by the clap of the thunder. And so that was The Hag by Robert Herrick. It's a pretty fun poem. Also, it definitely gets at the spooky because, throughout this poem, he's touching upon supernatural entities. He's basically saying that a witch is going to go flying through the night and she's going to dance with the devil, if I'm not mistaken. He says the devil and she together. He also talks about how, like, there's going to be a, creepy little beast thing hiding in his cave, his lair, just waiting perhaps for some wayward traveler to come by, and so that beast may eat this wayward traveler. Quite unfortunate for the wayward traveler, but that's what happens when you happen upon a beast lair, and sometimes they eat you. He also talks about ghosts and tombs, and I can just imagine, like, if you're reading this on like a dark night, especially in the 15, 16, 1700s. You know, it's possible that you're going to be a little scared, perhaps a little worried that the person next door is actually a witch, and you have to, you know, call them a witch, otherwise they might call you a witch, and you don't want that trouble, so, you know, just get it out of the way. I think possibly my favorite verse is the last one, just because of how it starts. It says, "The storms will arise and trouble the skies, the night and more for the wonder." And it really seems like this is something that Herrick is working up to. He's working up, like he's building up this suspense and this emergency, this creepiness throughout the entire poem. And he's like, yeah, it's this sky will like break free and unleash all this evil upon the earth, and it won't be any fun. It definitely will be, you know, bad for those of us who don't know how to do magic or fight terrible beast, which was probably most of the people living in what I'm guessing is the United Kingdom at the time, although I don't think it was the United Kingdom exactly yet. So yeah, you got a lot going on there, and not a lot of it is good, and a lot of it is pretty creepy. I think the last thing I want to note is the rhyme scheme that he uses, something that I haven't encountered before. It seems to go A, A, B, C, C, B. For example, he rhymes astride with ride, and then he uses together. Then he rhymes then with N, and then he uses weather to rhyme back with together, and he does that throughout the poem. Sometimes he'll rhyme weird words together, like tomb and come, and food and wood, which don't quite necessarily rhyme. But, you know, maybe back then the words kind of rhymed. I'm not really sure. You know, but it is interesting. Maybe he wants you to pay specific attention to those verses. Yeah, so like this has been Mr. Nothing takes a look at poetic verse and rhyme scheme, something that I rarely do, but you know, when it's important, I'll take a look at it. Anyway, that was The Hag by Robert Herrick, a fun poem. I will put a link to it in the comments so that you may read it and discover the wondrous terror that he wrote about. If you have anything to say about it, or you want to comment on something that I said, be sure to do that below. I would love to, you know, read it and have a conversation with you about spooky poem stuff with my one eye, of course. In the meantime, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that we can get Ocpoeber and Poetry Thursday out to the masses. That is always fun. And until then, I wish you the best of luck with your witch-infested and weird travels. Farewell.